Hi, I'm Greg Filson, known from the BXG podcast. You can get that anywhere. I'm here to tell you about really great sunglasses from Ambassador Sunglasses. If you need any kind, any style, they really do a representation. Men or women, you'll find a perfect pair. Good prices, and with my promo code GTPHILS, all caps, you can get 50% off starting now. Yeah, please go ahead, get yourself a pair, get someone else a pair. They're a really good price. I can't recommend them highly enough. I've been wearing the 4 that I've got all the time, and I get compliments all the time. You will too. Ambassador Sunglasses, ambassador.com. Promo code GTPHILS.
Welcome to the BXG podcast where pop culture and nerd culture meet at the nexus of the universe and are melded as seamlessly as fifth grade teachers and substitute teachers. I am one of your hosts, Bretton Beswick, and this week, Greg is on vacation in the great city of San Diego, a whale's vagina. Yes. Seeing a concert. He is going to jump in for one of our segments just for a little bit, but I am joined by a special guest co-host for the week, Scrooge McDuck.
Scrooge McDuck, nice.
Our friend,
how's it going, my friend?
Our friend Ty McAfoose. You may remember him from appearances such as "Don't Touch Anyone," the Blizzard story, and Trigger Witch. That's right, we did that one too.
Don't touch anyone.
Yeah, the Activision Blizzard
story. Oh, yeah. Don't touch people.
Proper consent. The Activision Blizzard story.
Yeah.
How are you tonight, sir?
Doing pretty well. How about yourself?
Can't complain. Even if I could, who would listen?
Yeah.
BXG podcast publishes every Friday at 9 a.m. on Podbean, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Amazon Music, Google Podcasts, and other podcasts locations and services around the globe. You can catch us on our official social media accounts, facebook.com/BXG Podcast, Instagram at BXG Podcasts, at Y2B, at GT Phils for Greg, at Twitter at BXG Podcast, at Y2B, and at GT Phils. And the YouTube channel, you can search us for. There's actually an exclusive trailer reaction last night, right before Greg left. The Cowboy Bebop Netflix trailer dropped, which comes out here in a few weeks in November, and we did a trailer reaction for that, so that's up on the YouTube. You can check that out. It's not going to be part of the podcast this week, so if you want that, it's specifically on the YouTube channel. So tonight's show a little bit different. Ty is not a challenge guy, so we're going to omit the challenge this week and give a double shot of the challenge next week when Greg returns. And it's overall been kind of a slow week, so we solicited some questions for like a mailbag. So Ty and I will go back and forth on the mailbag for just some sort of questions that are kind of out there in the ether. Some of them are funny, some of them are serious, some of them they range from like decent questions to downright ridiculous.
A question for you regarding the challenge, since we're chopping it.
Okay.
Would you consider, so like I'm a Big Brother fan. My wife and I watch Big Brother. Right. And a lot of the people that show up on the challenge apparently are born in the minor leagues on Big Brother.
Yes.
And then would you consider those like CBS or NBC or whatever shows minor leagues, and then they kind of like graduate to being like literally a TV reality like star? That's their profession. That's like their objective when they sign up for these things, is to become like Johnny Bananas or somebody.
Yeah. it's real hard to become Johnny Bananas, and I would actually refer people who want maybe a little bit deeper of an answer to this. We did a quote unquote oral history of the challenge a couple of weeks ago where we talked a little bit about this. The hard part for those shows is like on Survivor, if you win $1 million. Mm-hmm. And they've upped the ante over time on the challenge, but like it is kind of more becoming sort of that like almost like career profession, like Johnny Bananas. And Johnny Bananas is there's some rare exceptions like Johnny who've spun out into he's got his own podcast for the Ringer podcast network. He does a travel show that airs after Saturday Night Live on NBC. He's very injected in the mainstream. The other guy that I would say is Mike the Miz. Are you familiar with Mike the Miz? He started on Real World, and then he went on the challenge, and he won a couple of challenge championships, and then he went on the WWE reality show Tough Enough. You remember that from back? I think we were in college when that was on, so it's been a while since they've ran Tough Enough. But he eventually
talking about the guy, the Miz, the wrestler.
Yeah, the Miz.
Oh,
yes,
I know that Miz. Guy. Okay.
Yeah. So he's been a multiple-time WWF or WWE champion. Mm-hmm. He was on the challenge. CT is kind of getting into that realm. He was in a horror movie apparently last year, which is really weird. But outside of that, it is sort of these MTV shows. You see some crossovers with Teen Mom. Florida Bama Shore is a show apparently. Some of the different international shows, but I would say that it is kind of like stepping from the minors to the majors in a way, because the challenge people are recurring, and you really only get that with those other shows unless they do like an all-star season, like All-Star Big Brother or All-Star Survivor, something like that. But I definitely think that now, watching Survivor, watching a little bit of Big Brother, I didn't watch this full season. I got bored of it pretty quickly. But you can see the people who are like, that guy's going to be on the challenge. That chick's going to be on the challenge. You can kind of see it.
They have like whatever the it factor or the TV like personality factor.
Like younger.
Charismatic.
Kind of, Fessy.
Yeah. So I feel like, another tangent to this kind of impromptu topic here is that like Nikki watches The Bachelor and Bachelorette, and people are constantly bitching like, oh, he's not here for the right reasons, or she's not here for the right reasons. Like she just wants to be on TV to like, get famous or promote her like skincare product or whatever. And I assume that the majority of people is that, because they know that they're not here to like find their wife or their husband. They're here to promote their own self-brand and become an actor or an actress or whatever. That's what 99% of these people are trying to
get on Dancing with the Stars.
Right.
I think a lot of the Bachelor people, Bachelor and Bachelorette, wind up on Dancing with the Stars.
Yeah.
I don't know that any of them have won. Maybe one have wound up on the challenge. It's not common, but yeah, I mean, and the other thing too is like with the challenge, it's if you're a popular vet, somebody like CT, Anissa, Kyle at this point, maybe even Fessy, Josh has been around now for 5 seasons. They get a larger like salary basically for being on the show, whether they win or not. And
paid like 40-50 grand just to be around for 6 weeks.
Yeah, I think CT makes like 80 grand a season, which I mean that's a good salary. You know what I mean, annually. So, and then he's got his own sort of things at home or whatever, but
being an influencer on social media and making $50 to tell Greg that he could beat him in a fight.
Yeah. So, something like that. I mean, a lot of these people have their things, but then they do. I would say the newer people are that kind of like, we're going to be on Instagram and tell you to, wipe your zits away with this cream. Yeah. Whereas like the older challenge people are just, they kind of use that to spin off into like actual entrepreneurial opportunities and stuff like that. You can go on and read about, like, you can search different things that a lot of them that won one season and then went away was because they invested that into, I'm going to open my own gym. I'm going to be a personal trainer or whatever. So there is that, but it does seem like a lot of the younger crowd that shows up on the challenge that came from the Big Brother, especially, but then also the international shows are very much like, check out this picture of me in my underwear sort of deal. So yeah. But to answer your question, I do think that it is kind of like the minor leagues to the major leagues, if they have that certain it factor. But like, my man Kevin from Josh Martinez's season on Big Brother is not coming on the challenge because that dude was like 90 and wore a suit to every. He was my dude, though.
Saran wrap around his body. Do you remember that?
Yes. I loved him because every time he went into the voting booth, he would say, Julie would say, "Hi, Kevin," and he would say, "Hey, Julie, how you doing?" Like, so just like straight out of a Scorsese movie with his suit. Hey, Julie, how you doing? So yeah, so there's all that. So we're gonna have the Dune review. Big movie just came out over the weekend. It's the sequel has been confirmed as of recording. I'm sure we'll have a lot to talk about with that. Greg's going to join us for it. There was a PlayStation State of Play this afternoon, as we record here on Wednesday, that we're going to talk a little bit about Pop Culture Potpourri with some of the different things, and then the mailbag segment. So we'll bring Greg in from the bullpen here, and we'll get going. Okay, number one for tonight is the Dune review, and though he is going to be on vacation and he's probably busy packing. He looks busy packing for his trip. Greg Filson, one of the A-Team hosts, is going to join us for the Dune review because this is one of the bigger movies of the year. So thanks for taking some time out of your busy schedule, Greg, to join us for the Dune review.
I mean, I'm glad we could do this. I'm glad we were able to fit in because it is a huge movie, and to do it with our friend Ty, this is good stuff. So I'm excited to do it.
Yeah, you okay?
I'm okay. I'm
asking, is he okay?
Is Ty okay?
Yeah. My headset disconnected and reconnected, and my headset was talking to me, and I was like, WTF is going on, as your lips were moving, but I couldn't hear either one of you.
Amateur hour.
I'm also okay. I just want to make sure everyone else knows I'm okay. I have not stopped for about 2 weeks. So
I'm always a little concerned whether you're okay or not.
I mean, it is what it is with me.
Right, that's fair.
But I'm here. I'm ready to talk about this movie, which I'm excited about.
So Dune is the film adaptation of a novel many would argue is the greatest science fiction novel of all time, written by Frank Herbert in 1965. A failed miniseries starring General Thaddeus Thunderbolt Ross, aka William Hurt, aired in the 90s, can be purchased on VHS. I actually owned it until the long in development film adaptation in this past weekend came to American cinema as well as HBO Max. The film is directed by Dennis Villanueva, Charlie's cousin, and stars Tim Chalamet, Zendaya, Oscar Isaac, Josh Brolin. Tim Chalamet, Zendaya, Oscar Isaac, Josh Brolin, Javier Bardem, Jason Momoa, Stellan Skarsgård, Dave Bautista, and Rebecca Ferguson. It had a budget of $165 million before marketing and has a current worldwide gross of $220 million and counting. Here's the thing about that before we get, is he French? Like, I'm asking this legitimately.
His family is French.
But is he French? Is he French?
He was born in the United States, but his family's French.
His name just looks too.
His name is Timothée Chalamet. It's like the most French name. Yeah, but his family's French.
I wasn't sure if it was the stage name.
No. His name is his family. He looks French too. Like, if you've ever met someone he's a pretty handsome guy. He's like good looking. It was so funny. Time magazine had 2 covers this past week. One was Timothy Chalamet and the other was Mark Zuckerberg. And it's like, wow, what a 180 cover. One of the most disgusting people and one of the most prettiest people ever. No.
Oh.
Chalamet is one of the prettiest people ever grace our good earth. I am offended right now.
I have a feeling that I know how this is all going to go. So before we get into our thoughts at large, I think it's probably worth clarifying. Greg and I have not read the novel, and Ty has. That's accurate?
Correct.
So we'll get into kind of the one-to-one comparisons and that sort of thing, but just spoiler free. Let's start with Greg. What did you think of the movie spoiler free?
Spoiler free. This is one of the most beautiful movies I've ever watched. Just if you don't have sound on, if you have no idea what is going on in the plot, it looks amazing. Like that's what he's known for. Denis Villeneuve is like the movie. If you've seen Blade Runner 2049, like these movies look so good. You don't really have to care about the movie. If someone's not into sci-fi, which is more or less what he does, you can just watch the movie and just be enthralled by how great it looks. And that's actually one of those things where, initially before my life changed a lot, I was going to watch this movie twice so I could take it in visually and then take it in for the plot line. And because I knew it would be very intense. So it looks beautiful. It feels beautiful. It feels important. Like there's that thing where it's like, this feels like a movie that matters. And that's literally what I took away from it. Was like, and I didn't read the book, but I know the plot. Like having worked in a bookstore for the better part of 7 years, you know what Dune's about. And just being someone that likes literature, you understand what Dune's about. And so take a novel like this and to make it a movie, which has never been done correctly. And I like David Lynch as a director, but this was his adaptation was critically panned and it's very weird, very, very weird if you ever watched it. But just aesthetically, it's very pleasing. I think the acting is actually very well done. Anytime something's over the top, it's only because it needs to be. I think every single person in their role is actually doing the best thing they do in their role. Maybe we'll talk about Dave Bautista, but it's like Dave Bautista is only good when he's only being weird. And so he's so weird in this movie, and that's kind of perfect. And like Josh Brolin needs to be angry. So he's angry all the time. Timothée Chalamet is like very good at being angsty, and that's his character. So, and the thing is like, we don't get Zendaya as much as we would like, but she's the second part of this movie. We all kind of know that going into it, and they lead into this. But no, I thought like just spoiler free, looks great, feels great. Really enjoyed it just on that end of things.
I know you were really looking forward to this, having read the novel and being a pretty big, vocal fan of the novel. What did you think of the movie spoiler free?
So I think we're probably going to get into the differences between the book and the movie a little later. So I'll reserve some of my comments and thoughts on that. But I'll echo a lot of what Greg said. It was visually beautiful, very well acted. It's obviously something that a lot of people have been anxious to see and how it was going to be done. There have been attempts at this. The work that it's being drawn from is immense. I think it's something like 200,000 words or something like that. Something like insane. Yeah. And in order to tackle that, the initial thought that I had was this is going to be ridiculous. That's going to be an abysmal failure. But then I was really encouraged. I don't remember like when I heard, but I was really encouraged when I started like reading up, and it said that it was going to be broken into parts. So that was really encouraging because the books are like that a little bit, but also the story is just way too big. There's just way too much stuff going on. And the story, I think, is intentionally like Frank Herbert's way of writing is intentionally confusing. And like Villanueva, I don't know how you guys interpreted this, but like as I was watching it, even like knowing what was going on, I was still kind of confused about like, what is a Harkonnen? What?
Just the spice is just a thing that we're supposed to know about, which is in the book too. I understand that, but it's like, I like that, but it is sort of vague. Yeah.
Yeah, there's an intentional, and it gets better as you go through the movie, but like there's an intentional, you don't know what I'm talking about going on for the first period of time. And it kind of like just kind of like slowly welcomes you in. And I think the way that it's shot and the way that the plot just kind of opens up to you it was really, really well done.
I kind of knew going into this that I was going to be the odd guy out as far as what my opinion is. I thought it was good, not great. I thought that, and we'll get into this with some of the characters, some of them I didn't particularly care for. The movie is, I would agree with both of you that it's visually very pleasing, but at this day and age, I need more than that, because Avatar's visually stunning. You know what I mean? And that movie's over 10 years old at this point. I guess my thing is that as I was watching it, there were two things that kept needling into my brain, which was, this would work better as a series, as like a Game of Thrones, because that's the vibe I got. It's like, okay, this is Game of Thrones in space. There's political intrigue, there's backstabbing, there's, all this stuff. There's environmental tension, that sort of thing. I just felt like the whole time I'm like, damn, how good would this be stretched over a 10 episode season?
Yeah.
And I don't think that that's a hard ask at this point, when you have Disney doing what they're doing with Star Wars and Marvel, what Game of Thrones is doing on HBO. You can make the argument that The Walking Dead, which is still somehow a thing. That's what I was thinking, is like, man, and it's kind of like what you're saying is confusing. And I felt like the story was rushed, even though it was only probably, I'm guessing, half the book, or if even.
No, it's not even that. The first two parts are only the first half of the book.
Right. So, and that's where I was like, man, this would have made a hell of a series on HBO, or a hell of a series on Amazon. You know what I mean? With the money they're putting into Lord of the Rings. And that's cool. I guess that was sort of the thing, was like, everyone talks this novel up. It's arguably the greatest science fiction novel of all time. I think a lot of people would argue with that. And I was expecting Lord of the Rings, and I felt like I got The Hobbit.
So I would say that, go ahead.
The other thing that I was, and this is probably going to piss Greg off. The other thing, or actually it might make him happy. The other thing that I couldn't get out of my head was, man, I wish they would have made this 25 years ago, because I think Christian Bale would have nailed the role as Paul. Like, absolutely crushed it.
I have said before that Timothée Chalamet is either going to be, he's going to be Christian Bale, or he's going to be someone that is bigger, like he's going to do things like he's the best. Years old.
Well, they were both in Little Women.
Right.
Paul's 15 years old.
Well, that's the thing. It's like, he is Christian Bale. That's why I love Timothée Chalamet. And right, Paul's 15 years old. So Timothée Chalamet looks very young. Yeah, he's 15.
He felt older than that to me.
He's also written older than that, but he's 15.
Yeah.
Also, the thing is like, this is set in the year 10,000, and this is just a thing about science fiction. Everything is always, it sucks. Once you get that far in the future, every science fiction writer is like, the world sucks and nothing is good at this time, and that just always kind of cracks me up. And I knew this with the book, but it's just like, we're fighting like we're fighting world, like actual world wars, not like country wars, but actual like, we're fighting wars with each other. Intergalactic wars. It's just like funny to me. But
I do think that, especially of Greg and I, when we do movie reviews, I'm kind of the the grumpy, like prove me wrong guy. And I will say that I was expecting to actually hate this movie.
Yeah, I thought you would hate it.
There's something about it that just feels pretentious to me. But like I said, I liked several parts of it. There were some parts that just completely took me out of it, which we'll get to. But like I said, I thought it was good, not great, but I think it would function better as a long series. I mean, I don't like something of this level. It's hard to do it justice in, even if it's 4 2.5-hour movies. You know what I mean?
Well, so to jump on that, I don't think you're wrong, and I don't think that's not going to happen. Also, I think that there's an open window right now with Game of Thrones ending, but they're also going to, they're already going to do their 6 or 10 spinoffs of that are in production or whatever right now. So
yeah, we did the preview or the trailer a couple weeks ago,
and then you have the Lord of the Rings that's already so there's only so many things that you can do on that scale right now. But if Dune becomes a series, there's also I think 7 Dune books.
Yeah.
So there's an immense amount of source material to draw from, and to draw from the whole, Dune's the greatest sci-fi work of all time. I haven't read all of the books, obviously, but
I hear they get super weird. I heard the last 3 are, because Frank Herbert's actually a weird guy, so I heard the last 3 are actually very weird and unreadable to most people that love that series.
Well, there's so I think that it's almost unarguable that God Messiah of Dune or something, there's another Dune book that is actually almost unarguably better than this.
Right.
So
okay, so let's get into spoilers. Spoiler alert. Here it comes.
Pause, fast forward.
Spoiler alert. Characters, plot points that stood out, good or bad. I'll volunteer as tribute. Dave Bautista is terrible at everything. He completely was immersion breaking for me. He's I've said it before, and I will continue to say it for as long as we have this discussion. Great at Drax, because Drax is completely a wooden character.
Mm-hmm.
Anything other than that, awful. And even though his scenes, he's basically what we would refer to when we were kids playing certain video games as a dumb and tough, even though that's what his function is, he's still bad at acting that somehow in this. And I was really fearful that he was going to be the primary antagonist, not knowing anything about the story. I was fearful that he was going to have a huge role in this, and the fact that he only had 3 minutes on camera, if even that much, did wonders for how much I like this movie. Jason Momoa, really cool guy in real life.
Idaho.
Not a great actor. I was going to do a whole bit where we just introduced ourselves as the last name of a Spurs player in a state in the Union. Duncan, Idaho.
So
there's a whole thing about that where the characters in this book are insane. But
is there a character named Ginobili, Florida?
Dune 8.
Oh, it's in it. Okay.
Yeah.
Outside of that, Oscar Isaac, awesome. Wish he would have got more screen time. Spoilers there. I really like Josh Brolin's character as well. And I really like Javier Bardem's character. Those were the 3 that really did it for me. Jason Momoa and Dave Bautista both kind of took me out of it a little bit. And then everybody else, I felt served their purpose.
So I think
nothing for Chalamet. I mean, I thought Chalamet was awesome. I actually thought Chalamet, and this is not me because I love Chalamet. I thought he was great. I was fully engulfed in Chalamet scenes. He literally carried this movie to every single part of it, and he carries you to Brolin. He carried you you to every single thing. He's great. I think you owe it to yourself to watch this movie twice. Oh, 100%. That's my plan after this. I think this is a very rewatchable movie.
Number one reason is because it's so confusing, but it's not as confusing as something like Tenet or something. it's not that hard. It's just once you get through it and you have kind of a comprehension of like the mechanics of the character names and the relationships and things like that, it's the linear plot lines are that much easier to understand. And going through it, like, I don't know if it's actually kind of really apparent what's even going on when the like really the square-faced guy that shows up from the Emperor tells, I don't know what his name is, but he tells Duke Leto Atreides, hey, you have to go over here to Arrakis and replace the Harkonnens. Like, does that make any sense? Do you even know what that means?
No.
Or
you're
like
not supposed.
or what's going on?
Say you're not supposed to know. And like, I haven't read those books, but I know enough. Like, he kind of wants, like you said earlier, he kind of doesn't want you to know.
Right.
Yeah.
And
you're gonna figure it out, but like you have to also have like
he wants you to finish the book.
You have to have like a perfect memory.
Yeah. He wants you to go back. Like, the storyline of the book is, a lot of people told me, I have read this 3 times because I just want to have an idea of what is actually going on.
Yeah.
And it's like, this isn't a one-time through. This isn't, your hour and 30-minute comedy. This is a movie that, like I said, when I talked about, like, this is a movie that's supposed to mean something. It's supposed to be watched multiple times. Unfortunately, we're in an era where people are a little nervous to go out and see movies multiple times. And I think if I saw this on the big screen, I can't even imagine what I would feel like. I mean, definitely. I had goosebumps watching it on my crap TV that I need to replace. And it's like, I can't even imagine watching this on the big screen because the sounds, every time, like that, like I love that. And so that's another thing that, like, I just seeing us on the big screen probably would change my mind, but also just like, I do need to watch it again. And I will watch, I've watched Tenet 6 times now. I love that. I love that movie. It's gonna probably end up being in my like top 10 favorite movies when I'm 40 because I love that movie.
Something else that I'll throw out here is that this wasn't even in really the movie, and I don't even know if it's kind of observable or if you maybe guys would look past it. But like, so Jessica and Leto, they're so like Oscar Isaac and I don't know her real name, but like
Rebecca
Jessica
Ferguson.
Yeah. That they're in love, like they're basically husband wife, but like, is that transparent to you guys?
I mean, I knew that just because I kind of knew the plot line because I've seen the first movie, and so it's like, so
there's a whole story of the traitor being Dr. Yue and them, the Harkonnens, like pinning that on Jessica. Like, Jessica's the traitor, and Oscar Isaac's character knows that it's not Jessica because she would never do that to him. And that goes on for chapters. Like, that goes on for forever. So it's really strange that was not included in the book or in the movie at all. It's just like, oh, he gets hit with a dart, now he's dead. Like
right.
Yeah, and that's one of those, like, I don't think that it was too. I don't think it was that confusing. Like, things made sense later. Sort of. It's like, okay, why are they doing that? Why are they switching these people out? Sort of deal. And it was almost, and I know I've made this comparison. It's not necessarily a 1-to-1, but it was almost like, wow, the Lannisters want the Starks out of the North, so make him king of the. Okay, makes sense. Whatever. And I followed it well enough. And the other thing too is like.
But the whole purpose was to kill all of the Atreides.
Yeah, right. Yeah, I got that. But I think the other thing too is, at the end of the day, this is a science fiction novel. Yeah. And I've read enough science fiction novels. There's enough shared elements. There's guess what? If you pick up a fantasy novel, there's going to be a fucking troll in it. That's just how it goes. Mm-hmm. So there's going to be certain shared elements. I didn't get wrapped up too deeply in the story. I think it's kind of hard to even grade this because it's incomplete. You know what I mean? It's kind of like, and I got into a debate. With some people online about the prequel Star Wars trilogy, and it's like, It's like everybody hated those. It's like, no, I was there. Everybody liked the Phantom Menace. Everybody was on board. It wasn't until after that, as a whole, the whole thing was judged. So I kind of think that you have to judge it. You can judge it in parts, as we are doing, but you're not really going to be able to put a whole thing on it until it's all.
You can wrap it, but you can't put the bow on it.
Right.
And I'll say though, like when it ends and Zendaya gives her line at the end, it's just like that got me pumped. Like I'm ready, and I knew obviously I watched it like 30 minutes before they actually announced it. Part 2 was actually going to come out,
confirmed,
and I was like, well, you better do part 2 because I'm in on this.
I think that there was a little bit of gamemanship involved there. They were never not.
I read some stories about it, and it felt like part 2 was going to come out. Like I would say 85% chance, but there was this weird thing where it's like, well, you need to make this, and of course you're going to make that much money,
right?
And things like that.
I think that they floated that out there.
Sure,
I think that there was a little bit of marketing gamesmanship involved. I think it's really good.
I mean, honestly, like for what this is, encompassing something so massive and condensing it into this is as good of an adaptation of a book that I have not written, I haven't written a novel like this either. That is true. That's actually a fact. I have not read, but to bring something that massive and take it down, like Lord of the Rings was 3 separate books. Like those movies, that's a different thing. That's the thing that people forget. Like, those books actually aren't that long, and they're actually not that complicated to get through. It really isn't. It's like
they're also not that good.
No, and I was going to say that, but I don't want the internet like going nuts on me. Like I would argue that the movies are better than the books in that series.
I think so too.
And like, but Dune is like, I know people would argue that, but it's still an argument. I don't know what the best. There's no such thing as like the best thing ever written, because a lot of times it's whatever. It's like my favorite book of all time is The Sun Also Rises by Ernest Hemingway. That's a personal thing for me. Whether anyone else agrees with that, I don't care. That's literally how I feel about something like that. But Ty,
at this point, I would say the book is better than the movie.
Okay.
The movie's good. The book is much better.
So let's get into that. And PJ Strickler writes in and asks what the comparison to the novel is. Apples to apples, apples to oranges.
So, I mean, as you'd always expect, there's much more detail. Like you have a canvas that's a mile long versus a canvas that's 16 feet long. Like you just don't have the ability to cram that much information into, even if you did like the Irishman, like if you did a 3.5 or 4 hour movie, like it's going to go on and on and on. You're still not going to be able to fit that much information. So unless you did something like what Brenton suggested and made, 10 or 12 hours, like Band of Brothers or something, or Game of Thrones, in a mini series or some kind of an ongoing series, it's just not going to be possible. Where if like Game of Thrones, they're literally taking like chapters from books and making like screenplays.
Have you read any of the Game of Thrones books?
I've read parts of the first book. I've not gotten through it.
Yeah, but I can tell you that they're very accurate. But like an entire season is one book.
Right. I've read enough of the first book that I can like vividly point to like, oh, well, this is this scene in the show.
Right.
Like the accuracy from the books to the movies is dead on.
Yeah.
So I mean, there's obviously even more source material there where they're taking some liberties as they get through the show, but you're going to have to do that. But with this,
it's just fuck you, George.
Yeah, it's just too much. So you can't really do that in a 2.5 hour show. It's going to take you 30 or 40 hours just to read the book. So I don't know what your expectations are going to be there. The book is definitely going to be better just because it's complete.
Was there anything that they like totally bastardized? Because there is like later, even not in the seasons where they're past where the books are, in Game of Thrones, they completely change character arcs. They kill characters who are still alive, that sort of thing. So is there anything that they took a lot of liberties with?
I mean, I'm not an expert on this, but like the only thing that stood out to me was the washing over of a couple of things. You know, the Gom Jabbar scene, I think, is like several pages. Yeah, it's like several pages long in the chapter that it comes up, and it's like he grunts a little bit and then it's over. You know, it's like maybe 30 seconds long, and you're like, okay, I guess it hurts when his hand's in there. Whatever. He passed. He's not an animal. He's a person. Neat. And it's like a very important thing. Like, it's just things like that where it's in there. It comes out. You know, right. The relationship between Dr. Yui and the Atreides family, the relationship between Leto and Jessica, like the betrayal, the political discord between the Harkonnens and the Emperor and the Atreides family, like all of that stuff is just so deep in the novel. And it's, I think, just to not lose you, it's just glazed over and kind of oversimplified in the movie.
Okay.
Which is probably welcome. This probably could have been a rated R film instead of a PG-13 film pretty easily.
Just a quick thing is, like, Brent and I were talking about American Psycho yesterday, and you can't actually word for word translate Psycho. That. Yeah. You can't make that book a movie for what it is, because that book, Ty, you were there, you were firsthand. I would walk out of my bedroom and be like, I gotta take a break from that book.
Yeah.
Like, it was like one of those things, like, you can't, if you're reading that, if you're just like, I'm just gonna sit down and read this, beginning to end, you probably might kill someone.
Is the urinal cake scene in the movie?
No, and it's the one scene that should be that's not.
It's the one scene it should be, but like leading up to that is also super weird. Like, that dinner scene is so screwed up to the urinal cakes, where he gets so mad and has so many like homicidal thoughts up to the urinal cake. So his idea, instead of killing this person, is let me give you a urinal cake. So
the scene where he breaks up with her is in the movie, and he gets like real frustrated because she does not understand that he's breaking up with her, but they leave the urinal cake out. And that's the one scene that's not in the movie that should be.
Yeah.
But that's neither here nor there.
I mean, he's chasing people with chainsaws. I'm just pointing out somebody bite a urinal cake.
Right. It's that thing where it's like, it's minty. So hard to sometimes take like something like that, and then you can't translate it because it's maybe too hard, or it's not going to work. It just doesn't work.
The biggest thing is time. You know, they had other things that they needed to accomplish. They had things that they needed to get to, and they had a checkpoint in the storyline, like the plot line that they needed to get to. And if they drew this information out, like there's not enough room for it. So they did a good job. I mean, they did a really good job of getting the plot moved along. The sandworms were cool. We didn't even mention the word sandworm yet.
Super cool.
How did we not do that? But like, the sandworms are really, really scary and cool. I think I wanted to say this. It's like a combination of Tremors with the like art Tremors, the Matrix with the one, and like some person has like the one true power, and they have like this awesomeness about them, and you don't really know who it is. Is it Jessica? Is it Paul? Like, there's this neat little thing going on there. And Star Wars. I think it's a combination of those kind of three things. It's kind of neat to me, because
it's funny. It was written in 1965, but it does definitely feel like Star Wars. Like, in a weird way. I definitely felt Star Wars-y very early on this.
I'm going to be honest. I didn't, to say I didn't get any Star Wars from this would be false, because like I said, it's a science fiction movie and there's a lot of shared elements, but I think that this is a wholly different story than Star Wars.
I'm not saying it follows the Star Wars plot line. I'm just saying, like,
that's what I mean. Like, sure. Yeah. Star Wars is a, I think, like, I would say that this is more grounded in reality, as weird as that sounds for a science fiction movie. Like the story is more complex. Like Star Wars is I love Star Wars. It's my favorite thing.
Something as simple as like the very first scene, like Paul is basically like using the Force on his mother.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
I did think that. I was just like, okay. But it's a more complex story. Star Wars is it's basic. You know what I mean? It's not like there's not like George Lucas isn't going to wow anybody, or any of these other folks going to wow anybody with his storytelling. But yeah, I think Tremors, obviously, I'll tell you, that was probably honestly my favorite scene of the whole movie, was when they were going out to check on the spice mining apparatus, and the sandworm kind of came up, and because that was the only time that I really felt like danger.
Yeah.
And that was the thing is and I'm, as we've talked a lot about, like, a lot of the games that I play, like The Last of Us and Uncharted and stuff, I'm a sucker for environmental storytelling, and I felt like that was a plus in that regard.
Well, some of the premonitions that Paul has, and like Duncan Idaho dying in the future and him seeing it, and then it coming to fruition, and him dying specifically exactly in the same hallway that he sees him laying there. And
I did have to like pause and look up what year this was written, because I was like, okay, who ripped off who here? And it looks like maybe George ripped off Frank a little bit. But that's one of those things. It's like it's really hard to make an original story at this point, when so many stories have been told. Greg, this one is kind of for you and me. John Kish writes in and says, seeing the movie made me want to check the books out. Does it make either non-book viewer feel the same way, or does it mirror Star Wars too closely to be of interest? I think that one was specifically at me.
I've always wanted to read the books. I just like they're an endeavor that when you're trying to read something that big, you need the time to actually do it, and that would be the only reason. But if I get some time to do it, I would definitely. I know I would love the book. At least that one. I don't know going forward. I know Gods and Messiahs, like Ty said, is supposed to be a better book. But at least the first one I want to read.
Yeah, I've always, like, as a science fiction fan, there's always been a little bit of a pull for me to read the novels. It's just never been high on my priority list. I don't know that the movie moved the needle for me at all in that way. But maybe if the second one comes out and really blows me away, that might change it.
Sure.
But I just, we'll just move on, because we'll come back to it. What's your overall level of excitement? At the time that we wrote this, the sequel was not confirmed, but it has since been so confirmed today.
I'm very excited to see is this going to be like a trilogy, kind of like Matrix, Lord of the Rings, like the whole Star Wars, like everything that comes along? I assume that it's going to be, they're not going to be able to finish this in 2 shots. So we'll get more of that, and that's always a good thing for me.
Greg, where are you at?
My hope is that they just release it in theaters, so it forces me to go to a theater, because I think I would say I'm an 8 out of 10, like pumped to see it. Like, I think that next one's going to be super revealing, a lot of just everything we want from a movie like this. And also it forces me to see this in a theater, which would make this, I think, that much better.
I would say that the likelihood is very high. They're targeting a 2023 release date.
Right. Yeah.
For this, which is a fast turnaround, which that tells me that this movie's been in pre-production, like regardless of what they've said.
Let me circle back a second too, because when Fellowship of the Ring came out, I didn't watch it. I didn't care. I didn't even want to see it. I had no interest. I thought that was for dorks.
Right.
When The Two Towers came out, I was like, wait a second. this seems pretty neat. I got to check this out, but I need to see the first one first. And then I saw the first one, and then I saw Two Towers. I was like, wow, okay.
Didn't we do this together? Because you and I were in
Yes.
the same boat. We're like dorks, nerds.
This-
and
this
then you
is-
and I watched the first two together, and we're like,
It's like,
oh,
this is legit. Like,
this is legit. And then we saw the third one in Newcastle at midnight with
Like-
Brenton, right? You were there,
Yep.
Brenton, and then
Yeah, I was
Phil. Yeah, it was me, you, Phil,
Legolas
and
and
Brenton.
Aragorn
Yeah.
are boys.
Yeah.
Legolas is our homie.
Yeah,
There's
exactly.
an irony. There's an
I met
irony.
Legolas.
To me, there's an irony in knowing what I know about you that you thought that Lord of the Rings was for dorks.
Yeah, man.
That's a
Hey, I'll take him on.
big irony. Irony. I think that I think that my level of excitement to see a sequel after seeing the first one that I wasn't super excited for probably remains around the same. I'm probably like a 5 out of 6, 5 out of 10, 6 or 10, maybe 6. That's a lot of numbers flying around there.
So you're not excited to see the next one?
Nah,
Not excited.
no, I wasn't.
What
really
are you
to
excited
see
about,
this one.
Brenton?
I'm certainly excited for the Batman.
That ice cream
good.
bowl that's calling his name later.
I'm certainly excited for the Batman.
You got to get past your affair with Batman, man.
That's probably it. That's probably all.
Are you not excited for the new Spider-Man?
for. We've talked enough about that.
You're not excited, no.
It's interesting to me that you guys can in one sentence say, make something new, but then you can't get past Batman.
That's fair.
Dune hasn't been made for
I think
70 fucking years. And you gotta watch Batman again.
I'm down. Like, I'm 100% in on this. Like, 8 out of 10 for me is like, I mean, I'm 8 out of 10 for
Dune?
Batman. I'm not 10 out of 10 for Batman because there's always that chance that there's the previews look awesome, but
Like
I'm
Dune
not
is
sure.
something new, but you're all rock hard for Batman.
I'm not. Yeah.
I guess the thing is, Brenton literally, like, when he says he's rock hard for you, like, that means Brenton's a 7 out of 10.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, that's
he's excited to go see the Indians play.
I'm
right. Rosario gets traded to the Braves and becomes the best player in baseball, and you're like, let me be excited about this too.
Defend
forgot.
yourself.
I forgot he played for Cleveland this year. Eddie Rosario. I forgot that was a thing.
And he's the best player in all the playoffs.
How about that?
Every time,
you know what?
Every time the Dodgers were in a critical situation, it's always Rosario up the bat. And I'm like, you gotta be kidding me.
It's
He's
small
amazing.
sample sizes, man. Jarrett Wright looked like he was going to be the next.
Oh, I know. I'm not saying
Andy
it's just
Koufax
hilarious
in
to me. It was
97.
just hilarious.
Anyway,
Like, yeah.
Defend your desire for new content and then poo-pooing it away for more Batman.
No, I don't think there's really no defense. I mean, we've said ad nauseum that we're hypocritical in certain capacities.
I'll defend Brenton. It's a different Batman.
It is.
All right, give me some Timothy Chalamet Spider-Man action.
Oh God, that would be horrible.
No, I think Timothy Chalamet.
I don't even like the current Spider-Man that much.
Yeah, you don't even like. He doesn't even like Tom Holland in Spider-Man,
Nah,
which is like insane to me.
No, I like Tom Holland Spider-Man. I don't like Tom Holland as literally anything else.
Right, which is fine. He's also like 25, and not everybody can be Timothy Chalamet or Florence Pugh at 25 and be like where they're going to make amazing things, or Saoirse Ronan at 27. So, but it is what it is. Is this the first Timothy Chalamet movie you've seen, Brenton?
What I call him Timothy Chalafont.
Yeah, yes, you did. Yeah. Did you do that on purpose?
I don't know his name.
See Hot Summer Nights.
Hot Summer Nights.
It's like you would. I pitched it to Brenton. He'll never see it. It's great. You'll love it. You'll love it, Ty. Brenton will not love it. Well, I don't know. You will actually love it. I will 100%. I'd be shocked if you didn't love it.
Hot Summer Nights. All right.
Hot Summer Nights. Yeah.
Is it like Wet Hot American Summer? Because
it's like a drug dealing movie, and Chalamet gets caught up in this whole thing, and it's great. So
it's good.
Yeah, it's good. It's really good.
Any closing thoughts on Dune?
Don't listen to Brenton. The movie was good.
I didn't say it wasn't good. I said it was good. I said it was good, not great.
He did say that.
I said it was good, not
It's
great.
definitely worth watching. And
Yeah, I would definitely
Yeah.
recommend it.
Yeah.
I would recommend it. Just because I'm not excited for a sequel doesn't mean I don't recommend it. I'm just it takes a lot to get me excited.
It sure does.
From movies.
In life.
It takes me a lot for movies to get.
You're more for TV series.
Nah, I don't even watch TV.
No, he doesn't like anything.
The Mandalorian he enjoys.
He does like
what,
that's it.
There you go. You want to know the thing I'm excited for? That's it.
Yeah.
Season 3.
You're excited
And
for Luke
challenge.
Skywalker.
Fucking go. No, Luke Skywalker's not going to be in it. It's going to go away.
And the challenge.
I am excited for the challenge. All right, Greg, enjoy your vacation.
Thank you. 2 days.
Have fun there in the sun.
Whale's vagina. So I'm excited.
Down in San Diego.
All
right.
All right, guys.
Yep. Okay, so Dune. Sound like Greg likes it. Big recommend from you. Recommend, but not as big for me. I think that's fair to say, but I think it's something. I think the more I think about it, I think Greg hit the nail on the head that it's an important movie, and so we can kind of, see it because it's important.
That's a good pull. I mean, it looked important, if nothing else. Right. Yeah, they accomplished that for sure, and you can kind of feel that this is big. Like whatever's happening is going to be like kind of the story arc is going to be kind of momentous, and it's going to move like the public
tickets. Move tickets. Yeah, I think that. Not to drag on any further, but I think in a non-pandemic world, this is easily over $1 billion gross at the box office. I don't think it's Avengers Endgame level, but
quickly, it's hitting 9 figures quickly in a normal world.
Yeah, but we'll move on to topic number 2, Sony's State of Play. Last week, Sony announced a State of Play event that would show off some upcoming third-party releases. Many fans theorized we would see Final Fantasy 16, which was absent from both the last State of Play and possibly even more conspicuously Square Enix's Tokyo Game Show showcase, as well as possible other big third-party titles. Instead, Sony served a showcase of smaller indie titles and what may be a bit of a disappointment to the general public. So I'll just kind of go through these. New gameplay shown for a tantalizing indie title, Little Devil Inside. No release date was given. PS5 launch indie darling Bug Snacks will be getting a free update with a new island titled Big Snacks. A new entry into the long-running Star Ocean series was announced. Star Ocean, The Divine Force, will come to PS4 and PS5 and will launch in 2022. Acclaimed indie title Death's Door will come to PS4 and PS5 on November 23rd. And we are OFK, a story-based game that follows an indie band in a narrative choice-based adventure, was announced and will arrive in 2022. Now, you don't have a PS5 to experience the might, the majesty, and the wonder that is Bug Snacks, but were you a Star Ocean guy back in the day on the PS1?
PlayStation.
Did you ever play?
I played Star Ocean on the Nintendo.
Did you ever play Star Ocean?
Star Tropics. I'm sorry, I played Star Tropics.
Mm-hmm.
I'm confusing Star Tropics and Star Ocean. So no, I had never played Star Ocean. You and I probably have talked about it in the past, and I was supposed to play it at some point, but
Star Ocean's second story, in my opinion, is one of the very best Japanese role-playing games that the PS1 has to offer. It kind of fell off after that, and I don't want to say it became like a laughingstock, but it became very like
the PlayStation 1.
Yeah, it was on PS1.
No, I'm saying
and then
what
I don't
became
think
a laughingstock.
No, the Star Ocean series.
Oh, okay.
I don't think that there was a follow-up to Second Story until the PS2, and it was not very good. I can't remember the name of it. It was like echoes of an elusive age or something. I feel like some of the times with these Japanese role-playing games, they just put American words in a Scrabble bag and just pull them out. And it's just like Star Ocean, the divine force. Okay. That's really the Death's Door. I need to check that out. Indie title, and then I'll probably play the Big Snacks expansion for Bug Snacks. But other than that, this was kind of a disappointment overall, I would imagine, for PS5 fans. So
what's the thing that you say? That's how you get stuff like "We Are Success" or something like that.
Oh, the bad localization stuff?
No,
the translations.
Yeah.
All our base are belong to us.
Yeah. There you go.
Yeah. If you really want to have a good time with like bad translations, go back and play any like Japanese Super Nintendo role-playing game like Final Fantasy, any of the Final Fantasy games, because there's just stuff that's like, what the fuck? Yeah. Phoenix spelled with an F, Phoenix down on the original Final Fantasy 3 cartridge. So there's that. Anything, I mean, where are you at these days with, trying to find a PS5? Anything you're excited for the PS5?
No. So the big fall off with me on the PlayStation 5 was the excitement was palpable. I mean, it was right there. Everybody really wanted a PlayStation 5. And I think you, Greg, have already talked about this, but the fervor kind of fell off as I just waited and waited and waited and waited. And now it's like, I don't really need one. And the pandemic kind of fell by the wayside. I'm not like cooped up I can actually go do other things now. I did buy a Switch Lite to kind of wet my palate a little bit. And I played through several games on that, but the games, so the only reason that I would get a PlayStation 5 would be for like storage capacity and just the experience of playing something that's so much faster and, the graphics being better and things like that. But like, I don't have like a 4K or an 8K TV to really even experience the difference. So it's just going to look, in my mind, it's just going to look like I'm playing PlayStation 4 faster. So I don't know that I can justify buying it and playing the games that I could just buy for my PlayStation 4 anyway. There's no like exclusive titles to PlayStation 5 that I'm aware of.
Yeah, there are. We are about 2 weeks and a few days from the 1-year anniversary of the PS5, and there's a handful of exclusives. There's a Demon's Souls remake from Bluepoint, which was a PS3 game. It was a launch title alongside the PS5. There was Ratchet & Clank Rift Apart that was in June or July. Returnal, which is a roguelike third-person action game made by now first-party studio Housemarque. There's Astrobot's Rescue, or Astro's Playroom, which is the packing game, which is incredible. It's like maybe the most entertaining 4 hours that I've had on the system from the standpoint of the DualSense controller. Deathloop, which is not your speed because it's a first-person shooter, is exclusive, came out in August, and then that's kind of it until Horizon comes in February. So
what's Horizon do?
Did you play Zero Dawn? Horizon Zero Dawn for PS4.
What's that?
They were giving it away at one point for free. And I think I let you know about it, so you might have gone in and claimed it. It's a third-person open world game where you play as a female protagonist who's kind of traversing through this world and uncovering the mysteries, and she fights animals who are, well, not animals, but like she fights robots that are like animals. So instead of there being a deer, it's a robot, and you have to it's cool because like you have to set traps, and she, rather than fighting up close, she's like an archer, and you set traps, and like the different things have weak points. You have to shoot off like fuel canisters from their sides or whatever. It's cool. I really liked it. I thoroughly enjoyed it. It's like a better take on Assassin's Creed, basically.
Okay.
So Horizon Forbidden West, which comes in February, is the sequel to that. And then next year will also be the new God of War game and Gran Turismo, if you're into that sort of thing.
One thing that I think of about like video games in general is I loved playing video games as a kid. Like I played video games ad nauseum as a kid, and I just don't allocate the time towards it now. When I do it, when I actually do allocate the time towards it, I kind of go all in on it, and I don't watch any sports, I don't watch any movies, I don't watch any TV. Like that's my downtime, is playing video games for that window of a week or a month or something. But what I'm kind of thinking is that whenever my kids get a little bit older and they are interested or they're capable of taking a 3D world or something, and not just playing like Mario or Sonic the Hedgehog or something that's just 2D and go right, and very forgiving environment. I think that it'll be more interesting to play it with them.
Sure.
Involved into things like that, and I'll probably get more back into it. But
yeah, that's the thing, is like, well, first of all, I would say Sonic forgiving, Mario not so much.
Yeah,
not so much.
I guess it depends which Mario you're playing, but like
yeah. If you're playing, it's crazy to think that the original Mario Brothers, the Super Mario Brothers for the NES, 2 buttons and a D-pad, and it's fucking tough as nails, versus a lot of the
also
games
beat it in under 6 minutes.
Yeah, if you're really good. But yeah, I think that's part of it too. And my oldest is kind of getting into that with Minecraft. And we just recently.
I didn't think of that as like, even though my kids will start liking video games, they'll like stuff that I have no desire at all to play.
Right. So there's like Minecraft and
like Among Us. I don't even know what that is, but
yeah. We got the Hot Wheels game. The Hot Wheels Unleashed game it's good from the standpoint of you can collect the Hot Wheel cars in the game, which is cool because like my son likes Hot Wheels. And then there's also a track builder with like a robust like tool set, and he doesn't even like want to build the tracks. He just tells me what to do and I build the tracks and then he plays them, which is good because like he's not good enough to win a race, but he's good enough to play an empty track by himself. And so he has fun with it.
I feel like I'd rather do something like that than let him just like mindlessly watch a show like Power Rangers or something like that, or like an adult playing with toys on YouTube. Like, come on.
Right. Yeah. You know who you are.
Yeah.
Blippy. Yeah. We will we'll move on to Pop Culture Potpourri. We'll leave the poo-poo platter that was the state of play for this week behind. So in more Spider-Man No Way Home casting updates, it appears, according to Empire Magazine, that 2 more classic villains from the Raimi and Amazing Spider-Man universes will join what's shaping up to be a live-action Spider-Verse. Reese Ilfin's Dr. Kirk Connors, a.k.a. the Lizard, and Thomas Hayden Church's Flint Marko, a.k.a. Sandman, are joining, are confirmed to have appearances in the film. This brings the total villain count to 5, with the former joining Dr. Octopus, Electro, and Green Goblin, 1 away from the tantalizing number of 6. Could any homecoming holdovers ranging from Vulture, Shocker, or Scorpion join the band to make it slightly more sinister? Now, I'm using some very key vocabulary there for Spider-Man fans, being the Sinister Six.
I was going to say, what's going on with 6?
Yeah, the overarching arc, if you're a Spider-Man fan from back in the comics, is the Sinister Six, where he fights 6 of his primary bad villains at the same time.
Okay, interesting. So we're heading that direction, it sounds like.
Yeah. Now, are you aware of what occurred in the end credits of Venom 2?
No, I'm not.
So Venom 2, not an MCU movie, right? The Venom Tom Hardy thing, not MCU. Did you see Far From Home?
Yes.
Spider-Man. Okay. So in the end credits of Venom 2, Let There Be Carnage, and this is spoilers for anybody who hasn't seen Venom 2. The end credits scene in Venom 2, Let There Be Carnage is Tom Hardy waking up to J. Jonah Jameson revealing Tom Holland's identity, which kind of confirms that he's now making his way into the MCU. So there's a possibility of that. We talked about that a couple weeks ago. We actually talked about it. I think we talked about it like a month ago, and then the day after that we talked about it on the podcast, or like I think it was like an hour after the podcast posted that Friday morning. Tom Hardy was seen wearing a Spider-Man No Way Home like set hat. So Greg and I are pretty sure that we willed that into existence. So yeah, but I mean, this is the thing is like, you know, you hardball me earlier with the Batman question. And this is kind of the thing is that these movies aren't always made by the hero, right? And many times they're made by how interesting the villain is, which is why some of the Marvel movies are kind of average, because it's just, as we've said, the good guy fighting an evil version of himself. And the thing about Batman and the thing about Spider-Man is that the two of them, you know, DC and Marvel have what I would consider the best kind of rogues gallery. You know, Batman's cool, not as cool as the Joker. Spider-Man's cool, not as cool as Venom. Those sort of things. So for them to really just load up on the villains for the Spider-Man movie, I mean, we've been talking about this as far back as episode 2 of the podcast run. So does a movie that maybe features more on the villain side of thing versus the hero side of things appeal to somebody like you, who's not necessarily a comic book fan and more of just like a casual fan of the MCU movies?
Does a movie that is more on the villain side appeal to me more than a hero, like a protagonist movie?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I guess I would. Maybe I'm not smart enough to piece that together. But is there a? Can you give me 2 examples, like an example of a protagonist directed movie and an example of an antagonist directed movie?
Well, I wouldn't necessarily say that it's the. I guess what I'm saying is more of a focus on the villains than
the story arc of the villain.
Yes. So imagine Dark Knight, but it's completely from the Joker's point of view.
I think that's really compelling storytelling. Like, I think that it is very, very interesting because it's so so dark and so different. There's almost like this rule of you don't get too excited about stuff or too like anxious about things because you know it's going to be okay.
Right.
And the bad guy's going to lose and the good guy's going to win. You know, otherwise, why are we watching? You know?
Yeah.
And so like taking that away, like taking that element of safety away and telling it from the antagonist point of view, or, you know, leading their story up, maybe like Empire Strikes Back a little bit, does make for some compelling TV and theater. But
yeah, I think
I've never really thought of that, but I guess that is a really good point.
Yeah, I think that where they're going, my fear is that this is going to be just too much, because of course Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield are both rumored for this film, although Garfield vehemently denies his involvement, even though it's like I'm on in it, sort of winking and nod thing, whereas Toby just like is like telling people in random parks like, yeah, I'm in it. I where we started with this, like I said, the whole way back in episode 2, was we thought this was going to be Tom Holland's Spider-Man versus the Sinister Six, which to me, Tom Holland in both films to this point has had either Iron Man to save the day, like if things get too out of control, Tony's going to come in and save the day, or he's had Nick Fury to kind of back him up. And for me to like thinking about, even though we know Doctor Strange is also going to be in this movie, which is again a lot, thinking about Tom Holland versus 6 top tier villains on his own was really compelling. but it seems like they're going in the direction of making this a live action Into the Spider-Verse type movie by pulling in the 2 other Spider-Men. And it just feels like it'll be too much. I have concerns that it'll be too much. And I also have concerns that it's just not going to hold up, as far as I'm concerned, next to the animated movie, which I think is perfect from a Spider-Man fan standpoint.
Yeah, so I get the whole concept of the Spider-Verse, the multiverse, the different versions of the same reality, the whatever. But that it feels like that would just feels wrong. Like it feels confusing. It feels like not the correct way. I don't know. I think the Spider-Verse is. Maybe I didn't interpret it properly, but it's not like a bunch of different Spider-Man. It's like Spider-Man and then like other versions of Spider-Man.
Yeah, well, from different universes.
Yeah, but there's only like one version. Like there's
only one in each. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and that's what
there's not like it's not like 6 Tony Starks, and it's like, well, Tony Stark is Iron Man here, but it's like Osama bin Laden is Tony Stark in universe 16.
Right. And what you're saying is this is Peter Parker regardless. Right. There's no like Gwen Stacy Spider-Man, Ghost Spider. There's no Miles. There's no
correct.
Yeah, and that's my concern is like they're trying to do 2 storylines at once and just focus on one is what I would prefer to see, I guess, from my standpoint. But each his own. In more Marvel news, the rumor mill is working overtime this week. And enormous because of the massive anthology of books that chronicles the creation of the MCU, which you can check out. I was actually going to see if Greg could get me a copy of this, but then he quit the bookstore. The blog We've Got This Covered, among others, has floated that either Universal has ceded the rights for Hulk solo films or struck a deal with Marvel, and that a World War Hulk film starring Mark Ruffalo in a leading role could be in production as early as next year.
Are you interested in this? Because I'm really not interested in the Hulk movie.
So that was going to be my question for you is, so we had the Eric Bana, Ang Lee directed Hulk.
I think that we've basically proven that no one's interested in Hulk by himself. It's just not interesting.
My only argument to that would be that now that we've seen him, they've done a good job of developing the character through the MCU, through the Avengers movies and Thor Ragnarok, that I think that it would have a better chance to stand on its own now than it did then with either Bana or Ed Norton. And I think that people like Ruffalo, whereas like they didn't really know who Eric Bana was, and Ed Norton's kind of a prick.
They like him as Jar Jar Binks,
No one likes Jar Jar Binks.
But that's what Hulk is.
He's a sidekick.
He's the dude that makes you chuckle when he yells at Tony Stark when brings him back to life.
Yeah.
That's funny.
So you have no interest.
I'll watch it eventually. It's just like, I'm not like pumping my fist like, all right, we got a nice Hulk movie coming. Like,
right.
I'm not sure who's doing that.
Kids in placement.
Because
their favorite characters.
I'll tell you who's doing it. Claire with her Hulk gloves, and she's going Hulk smash, and she's getting ready to.
Yeah.
I just don't. I mean, it's been, as I said, I feel like it's been proven that this is not what we're looking for.
So I guess this is my question then, because there's varying degrees of success for the MCU, right? Mm-hmm. There's there's Avengers Endgame that makes $2 billion gross at the box office, but then there's also Ant-Man that makes $550 million at the box. So what is a successful number for a Hulk movie? What are they happy with? Because I think they're perfectly happy with Ant-Man at $550 million.
Make 2-3 times what you put into it, like make it worth the time so you can pay the actors and make some profit for the company. But like I was just actually thinking while you were saying that Thor started out totally pedestrian, and then Thor 2 was god awful.
Yes.
And the character Thor was like, I guess interesting. Like the character Thor is cool, and it was a neat thing. But then Thor Ragnarok is amazing.
Right.
Like Thor Ragnarok is terrific. So they kind of just like figured out how to do it. So it's definitely possible that a Hulk movie would be successful at this point. To I guess get back to what your question was. Yeah, if you give the property to the right person and you do it with the correct intent, I guess it is possible to make something cool out of it. I just don't know who's looking for that at this point. Like why are we doing that?
From a strictly financials, I'm trying to find my my old notes here from our MCU episodes. This is just as an example. Thor Dark World budget 170 million, gross 645 million.
So that's a dreadful, god-awful movie and a smashing success. It made $500 million in profit.
Right. So, and then just for the movies that sandwich that, just as an aside, Iron Man 3, 200 million budget, 1.25 billion gross. And then you had Captain America Winter Soldier, 177 million. This is all before marketing. 177 million, 714.4 million. So if we average that out, and that's kind of, if you're putting in 180 million, what are they happy with? Anything less than
600 million?
600 million? I think it even has to be more than that, because Hulk at this point is one of the core characters.
Yeah, I mean,
the MCU.
We had talked about offline here, we had talked about Bond being $900 million break-even point after marketing. Right. And
let's explain that a little bit, because I certainly didn't understand that until I read that article you sent me twice. So No Time to Die had a budget of I have it from last week, I think, or whenever we did that. Let me see here. So this one, nope, that's Beetlejuice. That budget is far lower, 15 million. Close to 300 million budget before, which is by far the most expensive Bond movie, and that's before marketing.
So
marketing is usually about
paying the actors, setting up the sets, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah. So budgeting or marketing usually is 100 for a movie like that. It's going to be 100 to 150 million. So that puts you in like the 450 range. That's where we get. So when a movie like Avengers Endgame, for example, makes $2 billion gross, what that means is gross is pure ticket sales. Okay. So doesn't include popcorn, doesn't include Raisinets, doesn't include Pepsi. It's pure ticket sales. So I go to the ticket box office, I pay $10 because fuck, right? For Avengers Endgame. Depending on what the negotiation is with the Theaters Association, AMC, whatever, Disney's only getting a 50% rip on that. The same way that like if you and me make a game, the Little Penguin Lost in the Wilderness and put it on PlayStation Network for $10, Sony gets a 30% rip. We only get 70%. So there's percentages.
Penguin Lost in the Wilderness.
there's so when you have a movie like No Time to Die that has a total budget plus marketing 450 million, to break even it's 900 million, because they're only getting 50% of ticket sales. So that's why you look at these astronomical numbers, like Iron Man 3 made 1.2, or what did I say, 1.5 billion,
1.25 for Iron Man 3,
1.25 billion. Take away 300 for budget and marketing, and then take away 50% of that, and it's not necessarily the mega profitable thing that you thought it was.
Right.
So where does that leave
a Hulk movie's requirement?
Yeah.
I mean, like I said, you probably need to at least double to triple easily to start hitting green pastures. And
green pastures.
I think that the 180 number, I mean, in the Thor and those other numbers that you had said there, like they probably need to get north of that $600 to $700 million range, which is just crazy to think about.
Yeah,
that's like $1 being put into someone's pocket as profit.
Yeah, I think at this point, and this is non-pandemic, because obviously Shang-Chi did very well for pandemic, but it would have done much better, A, and B, I don't think that they're like, they're happy with it, but quietly behind doors, they're probably not happy with it because it probably lost money or barely broke even. I think anything at this point for a Marvel movie, anything less than 800 million is a failure in a non-pandemic.
Probably fair to say, because there's,
betting.
I mean, but they have like all of the advertising and stuff like that probably figured out pretty efficiently at this point. They're not spending $200, $300, $400 million on advertising. They're doing it a lot more efficiently than that, I would think.
Yeah, and you figure too, all these movies are going to come exclusively to Disney Plus, which is another, more money in their pocket. We'll move on from Hulk, and we'll see. This hasn't been officially confirmed yet, but we will certainly keep an eye on it moving forward. Dune won the box office, and this kind of comes into these a little bit with these numbers, especially dealing with the pandemic. Dune won the box office this week with $40.1 million, which bests Godzilla vs. Kong as the best movie to release simultaneously in theaters and on HBO Max. Its worldwide tally stands at $220.7 million. Halloween Kills was second with 14 million, which brings its total closer to 73 million. No Time to Die came in at third, and Venom 2, Let There Be Carnage, came in at number 4 for this past weekend. So there's that.
Dune's got a long runway to go, but I'm sure that they got a bigger
Here's
number
the thing,
than
though,
220.
It does, but does it? Because
well, also, how much did HBO pay to have access to that off the bat? Like, I don't know how that works, but like, I'm guessing that HBO has to pay for the rights to just throw it out there on HBO Max. Got to be like $200-300 million just to do that, right?
Yeah, I'm not sure. Warner Brothers struck a deal for them for exclusivity during the pandemic. But I would argue that the Dune actually doesn't have a huge runway because it pretty much has this weekend, and then the Eternals comes next weekend, which the Eternals is not a huge Marvel property by any stretch of the imagination, but you know what it is? It's a Marvel property, and that matters. You know what I mean? So people are going to come see it. People are going to see it people are going to go see the Eternals just to see if there's a new Spider-Man trailer. And I think that, my feeling on the Eternals is it's going to be very C+, but at the end of the day, it's Marvel, and people go see those movies. And you're in a space where in a 2-week period of, if I have a family of a kid who's 13 and 10, am I going to go see Dune, or am I going to go see a Marvel movie?
100%. Yeah.
So that is something to think about. And I think that in a perfect world, they would have gotten this out much sooner and farther away from any of the Marvel movies as they could have. Hayden Christensen will appear as Anakin Skywalker in not only the upcoming Obi-Wan Kenobi series, but also the upcoming Ahsoka Tano series. So Anakin Skywalker returns.
Is he just
he's got nothing going on.
I was just going to say in some clever way, but you beat me to it.
But here's the thing is that
what's on his to-do list?
Nothing. Obi-Wan and Ahsoka. But I got into not like a fight. I wouldn't say I got into a fight, but I got into a spirited debate here in the last couple of days about people who look through rose-colored glasses at the prequel trilogy. And I think that there's right now, because people are, especially in the movie space, reeling because the sequels were not very well received, especially the last two, that there's almost a nostalgia factor for the prequels, and people are excited about him coming back.
Oh my God.
Wow. And the thing about it is I don't understand how this works, because is he going to be a Force ghost, or are these going to be flashbacks? Because there's literally no reason to bring just this guy back to stuff him in a Vader suit, because these shows
coming back
take place after Return of the Jedi.
Yeah, that was.
Or I'm sorry, Obi-Wan takes place between Revenge of the Sith and A New Hope, but the Ahsoka series takes place in that time frame too, and that's a time frame where he's already Darth Vader.
I was going to ask you the timeline here. Like, Anakin is a very specific character that has a very specific story arc,
right?
Why specifically Anakin Skywalker? I know that's his character that he plays, so
right?
It makes sense, but like, why are we reintroducing that specific character? There has to be a reason, I would think, but if chronologically
that's what I mean.
Doesn't make any sense. That's very confusing.
It has to come. Well, okay, so let me back up a second. I think the Ahsoka series takes place in the same timeline as The Mandalorian, which is after Return of the Jedi. And that's why I feel like he likely shows up in that series as a Force ghost. No, as a Force ghost.
Oh.
Because Ahsoka was
Vader's dead.
Right. Ahsoka was Anakin's Padawan in the Clone Wars animated series. That's what the relationship between those two characters is. So I feel like he likely shows up as a Force ghost. The Obi-Wan series takes place between Revenge of the Sith and A New Hope, which would be Darth Vader. So to have Anakin come in, it has to almost be a flashback or him out of the suit for some reason. Because like I said, there's no point in bringing this specific actor back, shoving him in the Darth Vader suit and putting James Earl Jones' voice over top of it.
But also, Hayden Christensen is like 40 years old now.
Yeah.
So, like, what version of Anakin Skywalker is Hayden Christensen suited to play?
Burnt to a crisp, out of the suit Vader, and that's it.
But you get my point.
At this point, yes, he can't play 18-year-old Anakin again.
Which Anakin at 40 doesn't exist.
Right.
There is no version of Anakin Skywalker that aged like Hayden Christensen did.
Right.
So why are we?
It's a nostalgia factor. And that's what I mean, is the only thing that he can really do is do flashbacks, which, like you said, he'll look old.
He'll look very strange. I'm sure that he actually, probably doesn't even eat cheeseburgers or something. He probably looks like he's 21, but
now, I've seen a picture of him. He still looks like Adam Ekstrom.
Okay. With hair.
Huh? Yeah. Well, yeah.
With hair.
Yeah. I'm more interested to see the Ahsoka thing. I just want to see more of that character, of the Ahsoka character, not of the Hayden Christensen character. They might as well bring back fucking Jar Jar Binks if we're going to do that. In family news, the late Paul Walker's daughter got married this past weekend and was walked down the aisle by none other than Dominic Toretto himself, Vin Diesel. Very heartwarming moment. Did you see any of these pictures?
No, I did not. And I don't know if what's appropriate here to make fun of this, to say that that's really cool. I'm not a Fast and Furious guy. Like, I watched the first 3 to 5 of them. Like, I've probably seen 5 of these 9 movies at some point. And it feels like this fits the narrative of Vin Diesel's life, and
100%
how close him and Paul Walker probably were. But like, it also just kind of feels almost like tongue in cheek. I know it's not. It just feels kind of tongue in cheek with the whole family thing, like Vin Diesel and family, and it's just.
It's just one of those things that was like such an odd coincidence, because we just put out the Fast and Furious episode that we recorded, last week and released this past Tuesday. And over the weekend, while that episode was kind of just sitting in the tank waiting to be posted, this happens.
It's just interesting.
Yeah.
Well, good for him. That's
probably another one that we willed into existence. A third, this one's for you, like very specifically for you. The third person action RPG is in development over at Microsoft, starring the music and the members of the Wu-Tang Clan. Are you interested in playing an action RPG starring the RZA, the Jizza, and the Old Dirty Bizza?
Yes, sign me up. I cannot wait for more details surrounding this. So I don't know who the bad guys are going to be. I mean,
I don't know. Did they beef with anybody at any point?
Not to my, well, yeah, like Old Dirty Bastard said they should have won the Grammy, and Wu-Tang is for the children, you know?
Right.
So
finally, on the pop culture potpourri side, players who put down, this one's more for me because I've been playing this, players who put down Far Cry 6 for extended periods of time are getting emails from El Presidente Anton Castilla, aka Giancarlo Esposito, the primary antagonist of the game, taunting them for quitting.
This is so epic.
That's pretty funny. I haven't encountered this myself because I haven't gone more than a few days at a time, but I've seen some of these emails. They're really funny.
That is terrific marketing by whoever designed that game. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Just so clever. There's brilliant people on the earth, and I'm not one of them. I don't think of stuff like this. That's so cool.
Yeah. We'll see. Maybe after I beat the game and like step away from it, I'll get an email from Gus Fring. So we're gonna move into a mailbag, and this is just some questions. You can take this however comedically you would like, or however seriously you would like. These came from one of two places. They came from either audience submissions or just stuff that I thought was funny and plucked off Twitter. So we'll start with what is your favorite console historically, and why?
Favorite console? That's a hard question. I'm gonna go with the PlayStation 1.
Okay. What was about the PS1 that stood out for you?
The introduction to Japanese role-playing games.
Yeah.
And
because you didn't have an SNES, right?
No, I didn't.
Because that's where that took place for me.
Yeah.
I
mean, I played Dragon Warrior, also known as Dragon Quest, on Nintendo. I think everybody and their brother did.
Yeah.
But and I didn't have Final Fantasy for Nintendo, but I played it at like other kids' houses, and I thought that it was just like the greatest thing ever. And I always would go to the video game rental place and try to find games that were like it, and I always failed because those two games were so unique for Nintendo. They didn't really have a lot of games that were that in depth. But the PlayStation 1, like Sega didn't really have a lot of in-depth role-playing games and stuff like that. And the like Game Boy had like Pokemon, but that was after me. Like that was after our time a little bit.
Yeah.
So yeah, PlayStation 1 was probably my first introduction, or maybe N64 was like my first introduction to like a really in-depth, deep dive, 40, 50 hour like epic journey that like you were like totally invested in the characters, and then one of them just gets taken away from you.
Right. Yeah, I would say for me it's probably, and this is a very old school, new school thing, but probably would be either the SNES for similar reasons. That's what kind of got me into that genre with the Final Fantasy Mystic Quest, Final Fantasy 2, Final Fantasy 3, which are 4 and 6, Link to the Past, more of an action RPG. And then the Mario games, obviously. Super Mario World, one of my favorite games of all time. Probably my favorite game of all time, honestly. But then the PS4 is really where I got into trophies, and that's like a whole nother meta for me. And there's a lot of great games on that console. Uncharted 4, The Last of Us 2, God of War, Horizon, Spider-Man, all great games. And then smaller titles too. Final Fantasy 7 Remake, Final Fantasy 15 are all on the PS4. So it's kind of a toss-up. Like for the classic stuff, definitely the SNES for the newer stuff, definitely the PS4. What's a favorite, memorable, influential, funniest stand-up special? What's your go-to?
Wow. So many. If I had to pick just one, like if I had like a desert island stand-up, it would probably be Brian Regan, I Walked on the Moon.
Okay.
Only because I can show it to my wife and she will pee her pants laughing at any moment. Like I can have her watch that every week and she will cry laughing.
Mm-hmm.
It's also clean.
Yeah.
So I can share it with anybody and
Normal
feel
people.
comfortable.
Yeah.
I can't show like Eddie Murphy Raw to
Right.
my dad and watch it with him comfortably.
Really?
I would not be comfortable watching Eddie Murphy Raw with my parents.
Okay.
I could let them watch it.
Right.
But I really wouldn't want
to marvelous.
talk about it with them after they watched it.
Yeah. Okay. I got you. Yeah, I don't know. I'm kind of like new to like watching specials. So I don't know that
I could list like my top 50 comedy specials.
Yeah, I couldn't do probably more than like 10, or even I don't even know if I can do that many. I think another like one for me.
I know you like Eddie Izzard a lot.
Yeah, Eddie Izzard was good back in the day. That was probably the first special that I actually watched was Eddie Izzard from. I'll tell you what. Probably not my favorite comedian, but I would take Ricky Gervais' Humanity. And the opening line, I think, sets the stage. Humanity. Not really sure why I titled that. Not a big fan. And just from that, he's just off to the races. And Ricky Gervais is, I like him because he didn't hit like like the rest of these guys, you know, Rogan and Chappelle and all these guys, Kevin Hart, they started at an early age and they grinded to get to where they are. And Ricky Gervais just kind of fell into this like at a very late age. And I think that's kind of cool. It shows you can kind of get a second lease on life, you know, later in your life. Have you ever tried frozen pizza on a grill? This was your question.
Absolutely.
I've never done this.
If you haven't, you have to try it.
Frozen pizza, like a Tombstone or DiGiorno?
Yeah, man, doesn't matter. Unpack that bitch, put it on a grill, cook it up like a burger.
Okay.
Don't put it in your oven. It takes you 45 minutes to preheat your oven, and then you're going to get a soupy pizza. Put it on your grill. It's going to be a nice crispy bottom. Melt the cheese. Yeah, just a few minutes. Keep checking it like a burger.
Right. You heard it here first.
Phenomenal.
Pizza on a grill. Check it out. Shout out to whatever her name is for this next question. What is your favorite meal that does not have meat in it?
Oh God. I know Brenton's answer.
Oh, you think you do?
What's my favorite meal? Like what the hell constitutes a meal if it doesn't have meat? That's a hard question.
Well, then allow myself to introduce myself.
A bowl of ice cream.
Olive Garden, spaghetti, sauce, no meat, 14 breadsticks, and a salad. There you go.
Okay. I guess that qualifies technically.
It does qualify. Well, there's nothing technical about it. Qualifies. Runner-up would be a Blizzard.
Yeah.
That's what you thought.
Yeah, it's 100% your correct answer. My favorite meal that does not have meat in it. Toasted cheese sandwich.
Tomato soup or optional? No tomato soup.
No.
Wow, what's it like being a fucking communist? This next question comes from our friend Samantha of the Dole Whip Dish podcast, who was a guest a couple weeks ago. What did you think of the Lego Star Wars Halloween special? Did you watch this?
I did not watch this.
The Lego Star Wars stuff is great because it makes Poe Dameron the main character and he's hilarious. This was funny. I would just recommend any Lego property because they're all very funny. They're very tongue-in-cheek. If you've never watched Lego Batman,
Oh yes,
you are in for a treat with Lego Batman. And even
phenomenal.
the Lego movie that stars Chris Pratt as the main character, Emmett's voice, and Morgan Freeman and
Also
Will
terrific.
Ferrell. Will Ferrell as the bad guy. I haven't seen the sequel. The Lego Batman movie is hysterical.
Mhm.
This one came from Twitter.
Will Arnett.
Will Arnett is Lego Batman in the movies. Troy Baker is Lego Batman in the games.
Okay.
But they both have that kind of that raspy voice. Will Arnett's voice is perfect for Lego Batman. That movie is, and then Zach
sarcasm.
Galifianakis. Yes, Zach Galifianakis is the Joker, and Michael Cera is Robin. Which Star Wars character smells like weed?
What Star? I mean, Han and Chewie got to be lighting that shit up every day, right?
They're like Cheech and Chong.
Yeah. I mean, that's got to be the correct answer.
I'm gonna go with, well, first of all, Jabba's always smoking that good kush. But there's the character from the cantina in A New Hope. His name is Jericho. He looks like he's also hitting the hookah. But yeah, I think
Smells like weed.
Chewie and Han are probably the answer there. Okay, Will Smith or Denzel Washington, pick one, and you never get to watch the other's catalog ever again, TV, including TV or movies. So you either have Denzel or Will Smith forever.
Who's coming up with these questions?
That one was John Kish. That one came from John Kish.
Damn, John Kish. So we get Denzel's catalog of media, or we get
Will Smith.
Oh man, you know, God, that's like impossibly hard. I'll
give my answer in the voice of Greg Filson.
All right.
For me, it's Denzel number one with a bullet. And I mean, you've got Training Day, you've got Remember the Titans. I mean, Cripes. For me, it's easily Denzel. It's not even choice. I'm just saying.
I hear you there, Greg. But
I don't even know that would be his pick.
I mean, you got the Hurricane.
Yeah, Hurricane's good. Yeah.
Pelican Brief. There's a
I'm a huge fan of the Magnificent Seven, underrated Denzel movie.
There's so many good there's a lot of shitty Will Smith movies.
That's the thing, is there's a lot of shitty Will Smith movies.
I don't know.
There's a lot of good ones, but there's a lot of bad ones.
I mean, you got Philadelphia.
Yeah.
There. Oh boy.
The Equalizer, The Book of Eli.
I need
7 pounds.
It's Denzel. I gotta keep Denzel.
If you could pick
Sorry, Will.
If you could pick one song to be your theme song for the rest of your life, what would it be? Like, you walk into a room and this song plays.
Cream by Wu-Tang Clan.
Cream by Wu-Tang Clan. Okay. Yeah, I don't know if I have a good answer to this. Just the opening guitar solo of Ted Nugent's Stranglehold. That's just the first 45 seconds of Stranglehold by Ted Nugent. That's
You're gonna have to put that in. You're gonna have to put that in like the YouTube video or something.
Yeah,
so
you
I get context.
You'll okay. I'll make it. I'll do something with that.
Okay.
If you could pick one game from the past on any system and have it remade with the level of love and care the games like Final Fantasy VII Remake or Resident Evil 2 Remake were given, what would it be and why?
Wow. Pick any game from the past and have it remade. Love and care. Final Fantasy VII. Wow.
Now you had mixed feelings on Final Fantasy VII Remake, right?
Yes.
But I don't think you can deny the fact that it was definitely made with a lot of reverence towards the original.
I won't deny that. Doesn't mean that I had to like the game.
Yeah, sure.
I guess the makers of the game put a lot of work in. Good for them. But yeah. Do you have an answer here?
It's going to be an oddball answer for me.
Okay.
And this isn't a like a slam against you or anything, or it's probably, if you want to get real fucking meta about it, it's a slam against me.
Mm-hmm.
I've just played more games.
Yeah.
And so I have a deeper catalog of things to pull from. This was a PS1 game. I think it maybe had a sequel later along the lines. I know it had a sequel. I think it maybe lived on PS2 for one game. I'd really like to see a Tenchu Stealth Assassins game made in modern graphics, modern gameplay, stylized to today's sort of game development. And because number one, I think the stealth genre is very underserved at this time in games. Everything that's coming out seems to be either a third person over the shoulder open world action game or a fucking Fortnite clone. So for me, I'd love to get a game that is different than those things. And Tenchu, if you've never played it, it's a stealth game where you are a ninja and you have objectives to assassinate someone, and you have a tool set, and you have to do it as like, you get a higher score or whatever based on like how little you're seen. And so number one, cool. The stealth aspect, and number two, ninjas are cool. So I'd love to see a Tenchu game. And there was actually a game a couple years ago called Sekiro that's, I'm pretty sure, started as a Tenchu game and then got changed later down the line. But that's what I'd like to see, is Tenchu Stealth Assassins.
So this may already exist. So, bear with me, but something like the side scrolling, like Ninja Gaiden, Contra, like those retro games, but like a fresh version of it where it's not like the mechanics of the game it's nearly impossible because the random number generator where the enemies pop up are what make the game impossible to beat. And you can't get through it because you're trying to endlessly navigate this like maze of random numbers just bending you over. And if there were like a little bit more care taken to the playability of the game, but like the same, the same kind of
side scroller, 2D
the same kind of fun, upgrade your weapons, use the things, but like now you have more than like 2 buttons on your controller, so you can do other cool things too. Like I said, this is probably something that already exists, but it's not like
it's not necessarily like it is and it isn't what you're looking for. Guacamelee is kind of that. It's 2D side scroller. The difference is a Metroidvania, so it plays like a 2D side scroller beat 'em up, like almost like you're saying, like Contra, Final Fight, something like that. But it has the map that you retrace like a Metroid game or like a Castlevania game. Guacamelee 1 and 2 are great games, but I think that's kind of like what you're looking for. But I also think just that, what you're saying, Ninja Gaiden made today, make it 2D, make it side scroller, make it playable.
Yeah, make it not impossible.
Is what you're looking for there. This kind of plays into that. If you could be given creative control over any franchise in books, TV, games, movies, what have you, what would you take over and what changes would you make?
If I could be given creative control in any franchise. Interesting. Well, this one's not really fair, but like I definitely liked your idea earlier about Dune being a miniseries as opposed to a trilogy or a movie, whatever. But like, it's not fair to say that quite yet because we don't really know what's going to happen. But I think that's a compelling argument to make. It's much more suited, like the Wheel of Time and the Lord of the Rings are getting these ridiculous novel series, and the Game of Thrones. Like those are like literally in line with what Dune is. It's this ridiculous long series of books, and they are aware that you can't shove it into 2 or 3 movies. Right. It has to be dozens of hours of screen time to tell the story appropriately. So I think that maybe that would be kind of a low-hanging fruit answer, but I think that would be one that I would like to see adjusted.
I think that I would, something that I think, well, I've said this. I think that I could make a better Transformers movie than Michael Bay. Like me, Brenton Bestwick, no, screenwriting experience, no scripting experience, no directorial experience. I think give me the keys to the candy store and I could come up with a better Transformers movie than Michael Bay. It might take some time, but I think I could do it. There's characters there that they have absolutely ruined that are interesting, and
what's shocking, like, so you can throw a dart at a Christopher Nolan movie and it's going to be good. Right. You can throw a dart at a Michael Bay movie and you know it's going exactly to be what's going to happen. Yeah. I can't believe that studio heads are still giving this man money to make movies for them.
Yeah, well, they make money. That's the thing. Transformers makes money.
Do they? Well, we don't know the answer to that, really.
We can easily find it. Let's see. I
know that some of those movies made an astronomical amount of money, but
Transformers 3.
Was it directed by Michael Bay?
Budget, yeah. Dark of the Moon. Transformers Dark of the Moon made budget $195 million before marketing and a gross of 1.1 billion. It is the 5th highest. It was at the time, so 2011, the 5th highest grossing movie of all time. Yeah, Transformers Dark of the Moon. And in the words of Jeff Goldblum, and well, there it is. But that's it for me. It's Transformers, because those movies are dog shit and they make that much money. Imagine what a good one would make.
Right.
If you had to walk 5 miles to a movie theater once a week for a year, but after that you could see one free movie a week for the rest of your life, would you do it?
What? If what?
This is if you had to walk 5 miles to a movie theater once a week for a year, but after the year you could see a free movie every week for the rest of your life in that theater, would you do it?
Oh my God. That's a hell of a commitment. Every single week, walking 5 miles
to anything.
To anything.
Like
walking 5 miles just to get a free lunch would be
maybe not worth the free month. Yeah. See, this would be an easy one for Greg because he does the Tuesday 10. It would just be 5 there, 5 back. But you and I aren't about that life.
Yeah.
Especially me.
The commitment to literally, like, I don't think that the payoff is worth it to me. Like,
right.
Getting
because there's not a movie
movie
you want to see every week.
Right. Well, the thing is, I don't have to go to use up my free movie ticket every week. I could just say,
give
whatever.
it to a kid or whatever.
Or just don't go. Yeah. Like I'm just allowed to see a free movie. So, but like for the rest of my life, that's 50 more years. Like I get free in the theater movies for the rest of my life. This is just delayed gratification. I think it might be worth it. I think it might be worth it to just suck it up for a year and get, like, I think they're losing in this deal if I actually do it. I don't know how I would do it.
It's possible.
But just like cancel all my meetings for Thursday morning every week or something.
Cancel the meetings. All right. Final. I don't know that I would do it. That's too much movement for me. Final question is for me. What's the most challenging Lego?
Do I get a ride back?
No, I don't know. I don't know what the stipulations are.
All right.
That wasn't specified. What is the most challenging Lego set I've put together? So I'm going to pull it out here because I have it. It's surprising that this is it. But
do that in 5 minutes.
It's the Stormtrooper. Do you know how many pieces this is?
It looks like 75 pieces.
It's more than that. Do you know what makes it so hard is that it's the Stormtrooper helmet. Okay, for if you're audio only. It's hard because the white all runs together. It's very difficult. I had a little bit of the same issue with the Vader helmet, but not as bad as this one. And this one was
telling
very
which
difficult.
piece is which. Once you're reading the instructions and it says put this piece here, you're like, well, which piece?
Because you have to really count studs. A special runner up, but this one it's loaded because I bought the Millennium Falcon on eBay and the person didn't take it apart. They took it a third of the way apart. And so I had to take it the whole way apart, reorganize all the pieces, found out that I was missing like 15 pieces. So from a pure pain in the ass standpoint, the Millennium Falcon was harder, but that one was actually a more challenging set. It is all of the helmets. And if you're on the video, you can see them. There they are, are 18 and up. So they're not for kids. It's not child's play. Media recommendations. What do you have for us this week?
I would say this week, go watch Dune.
Yeah.
Check it out for sure. Coming up though, I'm excited to see the Wheel of Time TV series released on Prime Video. It's coming out, I think, November 19th.
Wheel of Time, massive fan. Have you read those books?
No.
Okay.
I've read the first 3 books. Which is an accomplishment in itself. It's like probably 4,000 pages.
How many are there? I know he died.
There's
Robert
like
Jordan
14
died.
books.
Yeah, that's what I was like. I thought there was like 13.
So Brian Sanderson, I believe is his name, finished several of the books after him. And his son or somebody else, as they always do, started editing the books and helping with Brian Sanderson. But
gotcha. I wonder who will finish Game of Thrones, because George is gonna any minute now. He doesn't look like a healthy man, George Martin.
He's never really looked like a healthy man.
Yeah, that's fair. For me, I'm still working my way through Far Cry 6. I'm having a good time. Hot Wheels Unleashed, I kind of talked about that earlier. And then on the music end, I've been playing Young the Giant's Mirror Master from 2018 quite a bit. It's a very good alternative rock album. I don't know how they're not a bigger band, but who am I? What do I know? BXG podcast publishes every Friday at 9 a.m. on Podbean, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Amazon Music, Google Podcasts, and other podcast services. Official social media, BXG, Facebook.com/BXG Podcasts, Instagram at BXG Podcasts, at GTFills, at Y2B, at Twitter, on Twitter at BXG Podcasts, at Y2B, at GTFilson. Ty's not on social media, so I would give you a chance to promote yourself, allow yourself to introduce yourself, but you're not on there. So
you just Google me, it'll tell you everything you need to know about me.
Did you want to plug anything else? Given the opportunity. No, you got nothing.
Yeah, I mean, donate to charity.
Okay. Tell your friends, tell your families. Tell your
Or
mothers about the unmistakable essence of the BXG podcast. Take care, friends.
I just want to say, because I looked at the questions and I won't be able to be on the pod, but I'm just going to run down my answers real quick. Super Nintendo, because I had the most games. Eddie Murphy Raw. Frozen pizza on a grill seems difficult to do. Seems weird.
I'm cutting all
Feels like
this,
a mess.
just FYI.
Denzel. Bad Company. Bad Company is my walk-up song for the past 20 years. Super Metroid. Yeah, I would run for 5 miles for free movies. That's not hard. And Dune and teacher books are my recommendations. So There you go. You get a little bit of the pod.
Cutting all that.
Add that in. No, add it at the end. That's funny.
I'll put it after the credits.
There you go.
That's fair.